Slice of Sea is the first game by developer Mateusz Skutnik to be published on Steam. A longtime Flash game developer, he's been known previously for his point-and-click Room Escape game series, the most popular being Submachine, Covert Front, and Daymare Town. Skutnik started work on Slice of Sea in 2017, aiming to create a puzzle platformer that drew from all of his most popular games, as well as the myriad of smaller games he's produced in the last few years, and also creative inspiration offered from his several watercolor comic books that he's also known for publishing. It's difficult to not see Slice of Sea as a huge testing ground for Skutnik, being the first major game of his to hit the larger markets, and the first sizable game of his made in a proper game engine outside the Flash era. Skutnik has referenced and made comparisons to puzzle games by animated designs such as Samorost and Machinarium when talking about rough ideas of how Slice of Sea will play and feel. He definitely has made clear that he's striving to tap the genre of indie 2D puzzle games that offer unique, cozy, artistic environments, of which I would also add games like Gorogoa and Grease. Now, something to note, I've followed Mateusz Skutnik's work very closely since 2014 and have frequented his online community where he regularly talks with his fans. Slice of Sea, therefore, is definitely a game that I've been eagerly anticipating more than other games, because I have that special connection through the community. This significantly informs my perspective in this review. The big question on my mind for Slice of Sea has been whether or not it can establish itself as a game that's on the level of Samorost, Machinarium, or Grease, and please feel free to recommend to me similar puzzle games that also exist in this category. I've enjoyed Mateusz Skutnik's games a lot, especially Submachine, but over the course of Slice of Sea's development, I still questioned what a big game on Steam from this Flash developer would look like. And I don't use the term Flash developer disparagingly. The Flash era has offered me some of the best game experiences I've ever had. But that being said, a noticeable difference of perceived quality, craft, and prestige definitely comes from the larger game markets and proper game engines, and I've been wondering, can my favorite tiny Flash game developer successfully break into that scene? Does he have that creative power? Does Slice of Sea fit in here? And to me, the short answer is yes. Slice of Sea absolutely does fit in. It's taken elements from all of Mateusz's previous work and synchronized them beautifully in a game that's not only a celebration of what's been achieved so far, but it also offers an exciting look into his future game development. It really feels like he's leveled up in a sense. The game is professionally made and detailed while still being unmistakably a Mateusz Skutnik game in its art style and puzzle design. I was wowed by things like the transition animations, the flow of elements in the menus and inventory, the sense of depth and immersion offered by the parallax motion, and the sheer scope of the amount of detailed drawings produced to create all these game assets. Several times while playing, I caught myself saying some variation of, damn, he really did go and make a proper game, didn't he? I first want to talk about the game's environment and art. The watercolor scenes, which offer a beautiful blend of Skutnik's signature Daymare Town and comic book art styles, don't need much explanation. I'm only sticking to showing screens used in official Slice of Sea promotional material for this review because I literally don't want to spoil what a lot of the screens in this game look like. There are many more that impressed me that you will not find on the Steam page. The sense of graphic design and placement of elements in each screen really gets the creative art student part of me excited. The background ambience provided by Thumpmonks, each track lasting for around 8 to 10 minutes instead of a looping 30 or 60 seconds familiar in most previous Skutnik games, fits perfectly and provided the perfect audio counterpart to support this beautiful, serene, decaying world the seaweed protagonist finds itself in. I'm listening to Thumpmonk's hour-long mix as I write this review. And Cat Yankee rounds out the 3-person credit lists for Slice of Sea by providing an excellent theme track. The game is chock full of references to Skutnik's previous games, some subtle and others extremely not subtle. Needless to say, I enjoyed the Submachine references in particular. The game also includes living, breathing animated characters from his comics, all living their peaceful lives. Slice of Sea handles the intersection of all these properties by allowing them to slowly dissolve into each other and coloring them all with the same brush. While the game is canonically relegated to just the Daymare Town universe, it's easy to believe that the sea belongs to all of Skutnik's universes, or perhaps is the primordial soup from which the universes evolved out of. I'm not going to spend time theorizing how specific parts of this world may fit into the Submachine universe, for example, but I don't blame people for trying, as it definitely blurs the lines in dangerous and exciting ways. Moving on, the menus and overlays for Slice of Sea are fantastic enough that I want to dedicate an entire section of this review to them. They're extremely fluid, even carrying over some parallax elements from the main game world, and they're simple and easy to navigate. The menu layout is not something completely new to Skutnik's work. Similar ones have been seen in the smaller games Mateusz first developed in Game Maker Studio 2, notably the last few games in the Where is New Year and the Mission 2 series, so they're represented sort of in their own special way in this game. The completely redesigned inventory system works perfectly, which answers another question that I had. Mateusz had previously shown off the inventory system in a development log for the upcoming remastered edition of the Submachine series, when he discussed how the inventory system would be completely hidden by default and would be accessed through right-clicking. I had a concern that the departure from constantly seeing items on the screen would make it more difficult to solve some puzzles. My concern was that if the inventory didn't have an immediate visual connection to the game environment, it would take more time to remember what items I had so I could use them in the right spot. However, during my playthrough, the inventory access quickly became natural, and it didn't noticeably hinder my ability to find and use items in the proper places. It's actually pretty slick, and the implications for using this system in the upcoming Submachine and Daymare Town remasters are exciting, because the space typically reserved for showing items can now be used for bigger game screens, as both of these games have unconventional aspect ratios in their play areas. After a few decades of so many point-and-click puzzle games being made by different developers, all wrestling with different ways to reconcile beautiful game screens with less than beautiful, sometimes downright clunky inventories that take up unnecessary screen space, I think Slice of Sea's inventory is one of the best that I've seen, and should serve as inspiration for future puzzle games. Finally, I'll touch on the gameplay itself. Slice of Sea features basic platforming mostly to move from one side of the screen to another, but its real gameplay is the puzzles, which are just as much Skutnik style as they've ever been. These are the types of puzzles you would expect to see in Submachine, Daymare Town, and Covert Front. They are extremely intricate, parts interlocking with other parts in ways so complex that sometimes it did boggle my mind a bit. Combined with the sheer amount of screens to keep track of in this game, I definitely felt at a time or two that I might need to start drawing my own map of the game to keep track of where to use certain items or how to get to certain spots. The difficulty is right up there with Submachine 10, Daymare Town 4, and Submachine Universe. Games where the puzzles themselves are not that difficult or unfair, but there are just so many moving parts to keep track of. It was a challenge to keep everything in order at times, but it was never too much. Slice of Sea also requires a fair bit of backtracking, which may sound horrid, but this is countered by a teleportation system that allows for easy navigation and jumps to key areas, which came in handy especially at the end of the game. The puzzles are fair and clearly communicated for the most part, relying mainly on finding missing items and codes that aren't unfairly hidden or detailed. I only found one puzzle late in the game that I felt wasn't clearly communicated enough, where I didn't realize a specific item could and should be picked up. There were a few times that I got stuck for upwards of a half hour, and this was not due to the puzzles and items, but rather because I didn't realize that I could enter a new area by going into the screen rather than just traversing left or right. There are benchmarks to alert you when you should press down to move backwards into the screen to access another area, and I did not recognize all of them for what they were until I had found all of them. They definitely stick out now in hindsight, but I didn't pick up on their significance while playing. This was really the only part of the game that I struggled with. The puzzle structure in games like Slice of Sea and others that I compared it to earlier often have this feeling of walking a metaphorical balance beam, in that some parts you may feel relatively well balanced with a good sense of what items you have and where they need to go. But every once in a while, I definitely felt the wobble of questioning whether I could keep my balance while only having a few usable items and not enough clues of where to look next. But I never fell. Always regained my balance, and it made for an exciting metaphorical traversal. A few other small things that I should point out. First, concerning the game's animations. The game runs at a very smooth 60 frames per second, and it's really nice seeing the faux 3D animations mixed in with the 2D to accentuate some sequences. However, the majority of the 2D animations in the game feel pretty basic, with most of the characters' personalities conveyed only through their design and not much their actual movements. And second, my gut feeling about the appropriate price for this game is somewhere between $15 and $20 US instead of the higher $25 it currently is being sold for. I wonder how many people are deciding to pass on buying this game right away due to its current price. So that's my review for Slice of Sea. It's a great solid puzzle game that shows that Mateusz Skutnik's name deserves to be mentioned alongside Amanita's work and other great puzzle games that are made by a lot more people than one developer and 2 musicians. And I really hope that it's at least gradually able to make itself known in the indie game scene. I hope to see more reviews of this game start to surface very soon. Mateusz, you did it, man. Congratulations. This really feels like a threshold moment for you, and I think you've successfully proved yourself. You should be really proud, and thank you so much for making a great game.